All right, everybody, welcome back. We're really digging into something today, something that's got a lot of people talking. Telegram, yeah, the whole privacy-focused messaging app, where they're changing things up, and not everyone's thrilled.
Yeah, big changes. It's a big shift, and it has major implications for online privacy as well as security.
So Telegram, they're now handing over user data, like IP addresses and phone numbers, to authorities, and this is for criminal investigations. It's
Yeah.
a big deal, right?
Yeah.
Because this was the app, this was the platform that was like, nope, not sharing, not doing it.
Exactly. And for years, that was their big selling point, right? Like
Yeah.
rock solid privacy. So to see them make this switch, it's definitely raised some eyebrows.
So let's break it down. What does this data sharing actually look like in practice? I mean, we hear IP addresses, phone numbers, but what can authorities actually do with that information?
Right. So an IP address, it can tell you someone's general location. Think like what city they're in, maybe even more specific depending. It can also link back to their internet service provider and potentially even show a history of websites they visited.
Okay, so yeah, that's a lot of information right there.
Yeah.
And then you add in the phone number.
Exactly. With the phone number, authorities are getting even closer to actually identifying a person, like putting a name to a face, so to speak, in the digital world.
So this wasn't just like an overnight decision, right? I mean, something must have led up to this policy shift from Telegram.
It's been building for a while, actually. Governments around the world, they've been putting increasing pressure on encrypted messaging services like Telegram, Signal, you name it. They argue that these platforms, because they're so private, well, they can be used as safe havens for criminal activity, and it's harder to track down illegal stuff.
And it's not just talk,
Hmm.
right? We've seen this pressure play out in real life, like with Telegram CEO Pavel Durov.
Oh, absolutely. Remember what happened in France a while back?
Yeah, not exactly a walk in the park for him.
No, not at all. He was detained, questioned, all because of allegations that Telegram was being used for illegal activities. Even though those charges were eventually dropped, it was a huge signal, a sign of the times, really. These companies, they're facing intense scrutiny.
It's interesting, because they're trying to walk this really fine line. On one hand, you've got user privacy, which is incredibly important, but then there's also this growing concern, this global concern, really, about security. And finding that balance is tricky.
For sure, and you can see how Telegram is trying to navigate that with this policy change. If you look closely at how they updated their privacy policy, well, before, they only talked about sharing data in cases related to terrorism, very specific. But now the language has changed. It's broader, more open to interpretation.
That's what worries me. They're using this phrase criminal activities, but what does that even mean? It's so vague.
Right. And that's the issue, isn't it? Because what one country considers a criminal activity might be totally different from another. And this lack of a clear, internationally agreed upon definition, well, it opens up a whole can of worms. There are concerns about potential overreach by governments, censorship, you name it.
It feels like we're almost moving away from this idea of preventing serious crimes like terrorism and more towards, I don't know, a world where any online activity could be scrutinized.
Absolutely. And that's a conversation that we need to be having. Where do we draw the line? How do we balance security concerns with individual liberties?
Yeah, it's a tough one. And it's not just theoretical anymore, right? We're seeing countries taking action. Look at Ukraine. They recently banned Telegram for all government officials.
That was a big move. And their reasoning, they cited national security concerns. So you can see how these anxieties are playing out on a global scale.
It really highlights this global tug of war, doesn't it? Privacy versus security, freedom versus control.
And it's only going to get more complex as technology continues to advance. But here's the thing. Telegram isn't just sitting back and reacting to all of this. They are trying to be proactive, and part of that is content moderation.
Right. It's interesting because it seems like they're trying to tackle this from multiple angles. So what are they doing on that front?
Well, they've revamped their search function, the goal, to weed out illegal content more effectively. They're also making it easier for users to report stuff that shouldn't be on the platform. They're essentially saying, hey, we're serious about taking responsibility for what happens on Telegram.
So it's two-pronged then. Cooperate with law enforcement, but also try to control the content at the source. The question is, will it work?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Can they find that sweet spot? The one where they're keeping users safe, addressing these global security concerns, but without completely compromising the privacy that drew people to Telegram in the first place.
Only time will tell, I guess. This is a big story, though. I mean, it makes you think about the future of the internet. Are we heading towards a future where privacy is a luxury? Or will we find a way to balance these competing interests?
It's going to be fascinating to watch it all unfold, that's for sure. One thing's for certain, though, this isn't just about Telegram. This story, it has implications for the future of online privacy for everyone.
A digital crossroads, maybe. A lot to think about. And you know us, we'll be keeping a close eye on it as always. All right, until next time, everybody, stay curious and stay engaged.